This will be lesson 3 in my series on Gabriel music notation, which is a far superior way to learn how to read music compared to traditional notation, which is over 1,000 years old. It's really time to update that system, which was invented, by the way, by a medieval monk by the name of Guido d'Arezzo. So he did contribute a great deal to the advancement of music, but it is time to improve that system. Now, in the first 2 lessons, we learned the location of the white and black keys on a keyboard. Now, that has not changed between traditional notation and Gabriel notation. The names and letters of the keyboard are the same, except we did learn it is much easier to learn the names by starting with D. And all the 3 white keys to the right of D are E, F, and G, and the 3 white keys to the left of D are A, B, and C. And we will find that if we follow that same pattern of learning for the notation system, which I call Gabriel system, we will find that it is just as easy to learn how to read music as it is to learn how to read a keyboard. It should be just as easy to learn to read music notation as it is to learn to read the keys on a keyboard. There are only 7 letters involved to read the white keys, and the black keys are modifications of the white keys. And just as we learned, first of all, the location of D in reading the keyboard, we need to know the location of D, first of all, to read Gabriel music notation. The reason D is so important in reading the keyboard is because it's the most prominent note, because it is the white key located between the 2 black keys, which act as exclamation points, as I like to say. And the note D on the treble clef is equally unique. It is the only note which is not associated with any of the lines. It stands apart, and it is right in the center of the treble clef. Let's look at some of the other notes on the treble clef. And with the keyboard, we learned that the 3 white notes to the right of D, and I will put these notes closer to where they are found between the keyboard and the treble clef. The 3 white keys to the right of D were E, F, and G. Very easy to remember. And of course, the same with Gabriel notation. The 3 white keys to the right of D are E, F, and G. And they are associated with the E, F, G line. D, as I said, is unique. It stands alone by itself. But E is tangent to the bottom of the E, F, G line. The note F is intersected by the E, F, G line, and the note G sits atop the E, F, G line. And notice that the lines repeat on the clef. At the top, we find an ABC line, which we'll talk about in a minute, then an EFG line, then an ABC line, and an EFG line. And this pattern repeats throughout Gabriel music notation, just as the key pattern repeats throughout a keyboard. Now, this treble clef sign indicates the ABC line, and that's why there is like a bullseye there. In traditional notation, it notates another line, but with Gabriel, this is the ABC clef sign. So now let's take a look at the bass clef, which notates the notes below middle D. So we will move the indication over here for Gabriel notation, and this D indicates this D here. And as we found with the treble clef, the D is easy to locate. It's in the center of the staff, and it is the only note that is not associated with any line. Now, this bass clef indicates a different line than the treble clef. So let's take a look at the notes on the bass clef, and we'll see that the bass clef points to the E, F, G line. But once again, we have the same pattern. The ABC line, the E, F, G line, the ABC line, and the E, F, G line. And to the left, let me move this a little bit closer to where the notes actually are indicated. This D is this D here. And to the left of D, we find A, B, and C, just as on a keyboard, of course. So the notes C and B and A to the left of D, they are all associated with the ABC line. The C is tangent to the top of the line. The B is intersected by the ABC line, and A is to the left, to the bottom of the ABC line. So let's look at a few other notes. In this case, we will go back to the treble clef, and we'll take a look at some of the possible chords that you can play. This first chord, which is made up of the notes of C, E, G, and C, would be these notes above middle C, C, E, G, and C. As you can see, there is a distinct correlation between these notes and the notes on the keyboard, unlike, by the way, traditional notation. Let's take a look at this chord, D, G, B, and D, and I would play these chords except my camera stand is in the way. This is the D above middle D, which is located down here. D, G, B, and D. Let's look at this chord. This F is just above middle D. F, A, C, F. And finally, let's look at a minor key. These three chords were all major chords. And this A is located above middle D again. A, C, E, and A. As you can see, it is just as easy to learn the note locations on a Gabriel music staff as it is to learn the keys on a keyboard. And that concludes Lesson 3 in my series on Gabriel music notation. And I hope it's becoming obvious to all of you that it should be just as easy to learn how to read the notes on a staff as it is to read the keys on a keyboard. After all, it's the same 12 notes which repeat up and down a keyboard, and they should repeat up and down a staff. And that's exactly how Gabriel music notation is set up. Once you learn the location of those 12 keys and those 12 notes, you should be able to start playing the piano. And I hope to show you how to do that in future lessons.